on YouTube.com and available on the KeithAndrewNetwork.com. I'm here with a former classmate of 2003 from Monroe Woodbury. And this is I call it the Monroe Woodbury Rundown because I'm going to be interviewing everyone from '03, 4, trying to get 5, 6, 7, whatever, everyone and everyone. And the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even if we're learning disability, I can still overcome controversy and reach my goals in life. At the same time, I'm able to turn myself into a perfect example for people out there dealing with any types of disabilities or learning disabilities. That you should never give up or have people label you, and you should prove to them you can still amount to something. As we were talking about before we went on the air, before Skype crapped out on us, is you have a very interesting story, and I commend you everything you went through. And I'm in the same boat. It's just taking it. You talk about taking one step at a time, but it's just climb the ladder. Just one run at a ring or whatever the hell was on a ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever those metal runs are called.
Every step you take, you just got to keep going, no matter what. You can't just let anybody push you down or tell you no. You got to tell them that, you know what, I can do this. And even if you don't seem like you have a support system, you do. You actually do. You have to look at your family. You have to look into your friends. And if you don't see that with them, maybe you need new friends. Either way, I still talk to friends that I've known since second grade. We all been through the same special ed classes, and we're still friends. 23 years later, and we're still, hanging out, talking. We still have, talks or meetups here or there, whatever. And, it's good to see that they're still doing a great job and they're still striving and trying to do what's best for them. And I can't tell you how proud I am to have such great friends that are willing not to give up and willing to do whatever it takes to become just as normal, I guess you could say, in our situation. We all know that normal isn't even possible, but yet we always strive to be that that appearance. Everybody wants us to categorize us as, well, they have a defect or that they are handicapped or disabled, when really it is a bit of a disability. But honestly, you work through it. You learn as you get older how you manage to go through it. And honestly, if you're working outside of school, you're working with people that don't know how you were growing up, it's basically having a new life. I've had the experience of going all the way down to Virginia for a while and lived there for about a year and a half, and no one could ever see that I grew up as a special ed student. No one could ever see that I had what my disability was, which was I had a learning comprehension. It took me longer to comprehend things, and it was a little bit harder for me to, understand what was going on. But yet, that was only for certain things. I've always had, trouble hearing, or they always made sure that I sat up at the front of the desk, so, front of the class, so that way I wouldn't get distracted from my other classmates. But in the end, it was just, what really was going on is that you could tell me something, and if I didn't know what you were talking about, you would have to repeat it over and over until I actually understood or knew what you were talking about. It's the same when it comes to reading sometimes. A good example is that if I'm reading, it may look like I'm reading a page, I'm going through it, but if I'm thinking of something or if someone's talking to me, I read that same page at least 10 times, because sometimes I'll just go through it and my mind is thinking, oh, well, what are we going to do for lunch? Or, oh, did I do the laundry, or did I do this? Or, someone's talking to me, and or they're saying something, they distracted me, and I'll have to reread it. Or if I'm reading something and I don't understand a certain word, I'll reread that sentence, and then I'll reread that paragraph, and I'll try to comprehend it so well that for me to read a book, it takes forever. But I love it. I honestly, I've always loved English, and it's always been, my favorite thing in the world, because I love reading, I love writing. I was actually an English major when I graduated high school. I did a creative writing, Shakespeare, the newspaper, you name it. I tried to do whatever I could to be inspired. And honestly, it's always been something that, as much as my disability has taken its toll on me.
Before we were really disconnected, I was going to say, you were saying about how you learn and hands-on and everything, and I'm like in the same category. Now available on WWE.com and Amazon, you can get the McFoley story. Well, actually, it's more on Amazon now, past tense. But for example, if you read this book and you say, okay, read, I don't know, give me a perfect example. Read blah 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 1 through 50, and it's gonna go over my head. But if you take the time to sit down with me and go over it page by page, then I will learn more. Same thing with the job. If you teach me, we're gonna do this, that, and so on. Okay. If you're just gonna say, oh, trial by fire, like I sometimes do, each time you either gotta burn or you gotta burn out.
Yeah.
And I always learn better if it's hands on.
Exactly.
In the evening, I'm gonna pass the show over to you in a couple minutes after I ask you a couple easy questions.
Okay.
So the first one I was gonna ask you is, when you were in Monroe Woodbury, was there any favorite teachers you had? And that's number 1. 2, teachers that you hated.
Okay.
Favorite classes you had.
Okay.
Actually, you saved favorite classes to college too, but actually now favorite classes in high school and college. And the last one is, were you a study nerd or party animal in college?
Okay. Well, for the high school, she'll kill me if I didn't say it, but I'm sure everybody knew. Mrs. Mcguire. She was my aunt. Not blood related, but she's a wonderful teacher, and everybody thought she was going to take it easy on me because I was her niece, but really she was really hard on me. I think she was the only teacher that that I was surprised that she actually gave me a C a lot, and I was kind of like, wow, okay. And I stepped up my game, and I did a lot better, and she showed me how to stop doing run-on sentences, and she explained to me, punctuation to a point so that I could actually understand that, there's supposed to be a comma here, and, all the semicolons, whatever. Let's see. I missed Mrs. Fallish. She was really great. I liked Mr. Blauvelt. He was really nice. Mrs. Williams. Teachers that I hated. God. I didn't have any teachers that I hated. You ask all my friends, I was a teacher's pet. Every teacher just loved me. I was just always willing to help them because I knew my friends, and usually at the beginning of the year, the teachers were like, I can't stand a student, and I'd be like, no, you have to understand that this is how they work. And I would, help my friend out, and I would explain to them what's going on, and they were so grateful for it. And I mean, I had one science teacher who I ended up being with the class of kids that were probably a year or two older than I was, because they were taking this class for like the 3rd or 4th time already. So they were all the students that were, misbehaviors, and, they were always rejected. And I felt so bad for her because all these kids were always causing distractions and everything, but yet I was the only one that wanted to be there and learn and get through the class, whereas it would take 15 minutes just for the teacher to just get one student to shut up. And it helped when she was able to finally get me to, see that, I was helping them out, and they saw that, hey, we can't distract her. It's not fair to her. She wants to go and get out of here, and we're just, messing this whole class up for her. So in the end, the teacher was really grateful that, I helped out, and I was willing to, learn on top of actually teaching and helping my friends or my classmates in a sense. My favorite class of all time, and it was probably the best, was my creative writing class. The first day we get in, the teacher turns off the lights, he puts on a CD and says, have everybody listen to the song and think of a story that this song makes them think of. And I felt bad for the teacher because I'm a big Pink Floyd fan, and he played Shine On You Crazy Diamonds, and I knew the song, but yet I did my best to, close my eyes and think of anything that just came into my head. And I did. I managed to create like a whole story with it, and I loved the class. I created my first book. Never had it published, but, it was always cute that I actually, created a book and everything. Hated class, I think what I hated the most was, it wasn't the subject, but I think it was the fact that there were so many students and not enough teaching, was my photography class. I loved photography. I wanted to get into photography. I still do photography here and there, and I have multiple friends that are photographers, and I just didn't think I got enough support and help in order to get the concept of, developing and getting everything done right. But in college, I actually took history through rock and roll. I love music, so the teacher, he could have been better, honestly. He kind of told me that we had a project that was, you had to go to a concert and write about it. Well, I went to one of my favorite things, which is the Machine Live. It's a tribute band that plays Pink Floyd. They sound identical. It's so good to go and see them. Absolutely love them. I wrote up this great, whole view of the concert and everything, and my teacher goes and said it sounded superficial. I wanted to hurt him. I was like, are you kidding me? Okay, sure. But other than that, no, I wasn't a crazy person, or, I didn't go out partying. I went to SUNY for a little bit. I actually got kicked out because when I think it was on my second year, I had gotten really sick, and I had to go for, I think it was my English final, and I couldn't go because I had the really bad flu, and she basically put it in, and I got kicked out for having a low GPA, which sucked. So I had to wait a year to go back to school, and I didn't really go back for, let's see, I think that was 2004, so about 6 years it took me to go back to college, because I didn't have the time. I was working full time. I was doing other things at full time. I was finally getting, I was in a relationship for about, close to 3 years, and was getting married, and I was just not capable of going back to school. I just put a stop on it for a little bit. Yeah, when it came to college, I was more the geek, the nerd. A really good example, I was in the anime club. So I'm sure that could just perfectly explain that, yeah, I hung out with all the, the smart people in a sense, but really we were just eclectic when it came to our favorite things. And over time, I finally went to school, but I did it online. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. Um, Imagine taking one course every 8 weeks, and every, you know, every 8 weeks it was a new class, a new class, a new class. And you had to do tests. You had to always put in comments, or as they call it, posts. And you had, if you did what I did, which was one course, it was only meaning 3 posts every week. Sometimes I did 2 classes, so that meant 3 posts every week for both classes. And it would be, if you were lucky, the teacher would give you a new question every day, or you were unlucky where they'd give you one question or several at one day. Everybody would answer it, and you couldn't, say the same thing they said. You had to say something else, and you wouldn't get another question till halfway through the week. And when you're working full-time, it doesn't really work when you go to school full-time online. So it took me 3 years instead of the regular 2, but it did take me 3 years. I originally was going for electronics and computer technology. I had learned how to build computers from my soon-to-be ex-husband. I loved gaming. I loved, the networking. I started learning about IP addresses and, go figure, binary, and I got addicted to binary. I couldn't just stop learning about binary, and I wanted to learn more and go into it. And sometime between, I think it was 2013, 2014, I had gotten really sick. I ended up having to go in for surgery again, and it almost took my life again. Basically, I had to have everything fixed up in my forehead like I had back when I was, going into 7th grade, so I wouldn't have to wear the helmet. It had deteriorated, so they had to redo the work again. And then a month later, I developed a staph infection, and it was right next to my brain. And they had to put me on a very high dosage of antibiotics. They said I should be fine, but, when it comes to having an infection that severe by your brain, they were lucky I didn't have, brain damage. And I was very lucky that it didn't happen. We caught it really quick, and we were managed to get it, all taken care of. And then 2 weeks right after I had my PICC line taken out of my arm, I was back to work. And I went back to school about a month later and decided, maybe the whole computer thing wasn't me. I just want to get my degree done. It's already been 2 years. And I saw that network systems administration, I would be done within 6 months. So I switched my major, and June of 2014, about 11 years after high school, I managed to finally get my associate's degree, and unfortunately have not found a job. That's something that when you go into networking or anything computer related, they require you to have either work experience or certification, and I have none. So for now, I'm basically looking into going back to school, but I'm going to go into the medical field. Everybody that knows me, they all know my mom. She used to work at BOCES. She was the head nurse. Everybody knew her, and she knew all the nurses at all the schools, you name it. It didn't have to be involved with BOCES. She knew all the nurses throughout the entire Orange County. So let's just say every time I went to a different school, the nurse knew me. And I was like, okay, hi, I ended up being a nurse's helper at all times because they knew my mom, and it was one of those. I couldn't go anywhere without someone knowing my mom. So being that she's in the medical field, I have multiple relatives that are in the medical field. It was just something that I guess I finally said, you know what, I already have my foot in the door. I might as well go for it. So, but yeah, that's my life in a nutshell so far.
Well, before I pass the show over to you, because I was wondering, do you still have your high school yearbook?
Yes, I do.
Well, I do have a couple questions for you after the show.
Okay.
And actually, I'm going to ask you on the air. Would you mind if I borrow it?
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm working on my book. I'm trying to, get some pictures of everything. And, but I don't know, I always like the 2003 yearbook.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice. Not everybody knows this, but I have an older brother, and he was normal. He didn't have my disability, and when we all went to school, seniors were freshmen when I was a freshman. So everybody still knew my brother, and unfortunately, I also had a cousin that was in school with us as well. He was the same age as my brother, so everybody knew my brother and my cousin, and I was the next generation.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, I have all 4 years. You're more than welcome to borrow them. I have no problem with that.
So you have, that's a good question, actually. You have all 4 years. You made 2003, 4, 5, and 6?
No, I have. I started in 1999, and I have up to 2003.
Well, if I can borrow 2002 and 2003, that would be awesome.
Absolutely.
Now I'm going to pass the show over to you.
Okay.
Is there anything you want to ask me? Anything you want to talk about? This is your time, after all.
Okay. Well, just give me an idea of what you want me to say, just so I could start off.
If you're interested, I can tell you how I came up with the talk show and everything, how that came about.
Sure, absolutely.
So basically, you want me to take a drink of water real fast? Basically, to make a long story short, I was a part of the audiovisual department.
Okay.
Going back to my favorite teachers, Mr. Roll, the good one, the audiovisual one, not the asshole. Mr. Roll was the best. He helped me. Basically, I make a long story short about that. It's a story within a story, apparently, like everything was made. My dad used to make yearbooks, video yearbooks for his school. So he started from 97 to 98. He would take pictures from the staff and the students, and to around 2000, 2001, that's when I got interested in iMovie. And I said, okay, I want to do that too. And I started off like making fan-made parodies, I used to do. I used to take like Trish Stratus, a whole bunch of Trish Stratus pictures, and I knew I would put like a soundtrack to it. It's a fan-made parody. Then I would do Amy DeMont, aka Lita. Then I would do the WWF and the WCW, and then I do all the wrestling. Then I would do a What If Marvel versus DC. And I don't remember what happened to that. I did write a story about Spider-Man and Batman coming face to face. What if? That one was really good. I don't know what happened to it. But while on the subject, I had a passion for making videos. And Mr. Roll wanted me to make my own talk show. It was the Keith Andrew Power Hour, the Keith and blah blah blah. I knew two people at the show at the time. I would say the Keith and A show and the Keith and T show, or just something like that. It was dumb. I wanted to do the Extreme Power Hour, something like that. And I came up with the morning show. I said to him, I said, wouldn't it be great, because we have TVs in every room,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be great to do a morning show, have the students come on and do whatever? It's like, well, that's great. If you want to do it, go do it. And I was like, well, I have a learning disability. I don't know. And at the time, I'm not like how I am now. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of trying to catch my breath.
That's fine.
Force of habit. I talk, and I forget to breathe.
Don't feel bad. We all do it.
So it's like, well, let's do the morning show. And okay, I tried. I came up with this thing. I used the book for an example, like I was saying. Came up with a couple. It wasn't as thick as the book. I wish it was, but I didn't want to piss that much ink away. So it was pretty much like this piece of paper. And I came up today to the key. I called it, I don't remember what I called it. I think the Keith Andrews Show. And this is what we're going to talk about, period 2 and 8. And people look at something like this, and people are like, picked up and throw it away. I'm like, son of a bitch. I didn't stay up all night printing something like this to be like, well, I don't care. And that really annoyed me. It's like, I'm not going to be disrespected.
Yeah.
And I said I didn't want to do it. So I guess he talked to a couple other students like, Josh Cullen, Drew Kaufman, Jordan, whatever his name is, and a couple other people. And they did the morning show. And this started about in 04. And it really, actually, no, 05 actually. And it pissed me off. Because I said, I'm the one that came up with this. Oh no, Keith, stop blowing smoke at your ass. Stop trying to put yourself in the spotlight. It wasn't your idea, it was my idea. And I'm like, oh my god, this is not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
So, truth of the matter is, it was my idea. So,
unfortunately, I had already graduated by then. That would have been awesome. Because, I'll never forget how we had those TVs in our school. We were the only school that really had that, and I think the worst part was being there.
Sorry about that.
It's okay.
I have no idea why Skype is acting up, but yeah. But
it's my luck. It's really my luck. I'm a network systems administrator, and I'm hating the system right now. If it was my mom sitting here, she'd be freaking out. She has no patience for technology, and yet. Oh man!
I forgot, where did I leave off?
You were talking about finishing working at retail to pay off your credit cards and doing the talk.
Right. I wanted to pay off the credit cards. I finished my rant, and I just wanted to pay off the credit card so I can be interviewed actually in person. I was interviewed by Mark Melanie. He's from the Reading Circle in Manhattan. I was interviewed by L.A. Cooper. He's from Talking Out Loud. I was interviewed by Bay Ragme. He's New York. Well, Pennsylvania, but he's a former ECW wrestler.
Okay.
But those are all great, but I really want to be interviewed in person. That's my next step.
Yeah.
Now, wrapping up, was there anything you want to say to your fans while wrapping up? Any funny stories you like to share before we get kicked off again?
Yeah, really. Well, let's just say this. For all my friends that know me, they know the struggles that I've had to go through, and those who do not know me but are familiar with my name, I was the girl that had to wear the helmet for, from pre-K all the way to 6th grade. I've had a dodgeball thrown at my head. I've been picked on, and even though I was mainstreamed in some classes, I actually allowed myself to fail those classes, so that way I would not be ridiculed by the kids that didn't have our disabilities or had to deal with a disability. And as I got older, I did have issues that happened. I had to overcome them. Recently, I'm still dealing with it right now. I have agoraphobia. I have social anxiety right now. And since I've come home, I've actually started seeing a therapist for it. And we're trying to, take care of my anxiety. And I'm doing really good since I moved home and I'm no longer with my soon-to-be ex-husband. But a lot of my friends know that I had to do all of this with just one parent. Before I turned 12, my father had died. And shortly after his father died, that same summer, my brother, who was, basically my mentor, he went to college. So it was just me and my mom for several years. And at the same time, I started having seizures. My father had passed away and didn't know that I was going through seizures. At the same time, he was on his deathbed. And if there's anybody in this world I can thank, it's my mom. Because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be alive today, because she actually gave me CPR after my surgery, and because I had stopped breathing. I had a grand mal seizure, and she had helped me. We were in the elevator, as if I remember correctly. Not sure, but I remember something about the story is that we were going to take me out of the surgery room. We were in the elevator on our way to ICU. I started having a grand mal seizure in the elevator, and she proceeded to give me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation because I had stopped breathing. And because of her, I'm still alive today. And it's been every step I've taken, she's always been my backbone. She's always been, pushing me and pulling and doing everything she can possibly imagine to give me that courage and to keep me going. And when I had the staph infection, I did have a breakdown. And if it was a regular, normal parent, if they saw their child going through this, they would have called up 911 and told them to take this person to the loony bin. My mom put me in her arms, and she told me, no, you don't think that, why are you going through all of this? Don't think that, God hates you. God gave you all of this because he knows you are his strongest soldier. And the reason why you're going through this is that because you will overcome it. You will manage to get through this. And I completely understand you are at the edge of your sanity right now. You've gone through so much in such a little time, and you're not even 30 years old, and you've had to deal with this. But you will go through this, and you will come out. You will be a stronger person. And I bet you in a month's time, you're going to laugh at this. You're going to look back and you're going to say, wow, I can't believe I lost myself there. And every time I go through a struggle, for example, right now, I am struggling because I have a degree. I'm living back at home. I'm still looking for work. I'm still trying to get over the sensitivity of my marriage falling and failing again, for the second time, and just not knowing again what my purpose is. I just say, you know what? There's a reason I'm here. There's a reason I wake up every morning, and I just haven't found it yet. And no matter what, it will come. I just need to work for it, take it step by step. My family loves me. My friends are there with me. My family is behind me no matter what. And honestly, the best thing you can do is give up. You can't give up. I know so many people who have it worse than you and I, and I couldn't even imagine living in the same aspect as they are, but yet they do it on a daily basis, and I'm proud of them. I can't imagine having to go through that, but yet I know it has to suck. It has to be a struggle that you are going through, and I've lost many friends, family over the years, and for me, I just know that if there's anybody that is going through a rough time, get in touch with me. I can't tell you how many times that I'm usually the one, excuse me, I'm usually the one that everybody comes to because I know exactly how they feel. I know how it feels to lose and keep losing and to be just knocked down and pushed down and beaten to a bloody pit, just completely. But yet I still get up, I dust my knees off, and I keep going. Because there's no point in stopping. There's only one point, and that's to keep going and keep striving for whatever it is you want.